Well, after a series box office disappointment, or several of them, I should say, and an embrace of woke positions pushing the company further to the left, newly reinstated CEO Bob Iger has expressed regret the company got involved in the culture wars. And Iger has come out of retirement. He's back at Disney to fix the damaged brand, and he spoke to the employees at a town hall where he addressed Disney's recent cultural and political controversies that are engulfing the company. Watch a little bit of it.
Will Disney stay out of making political statements?
You know, I think there's a misperception here about what politics is. And I think that some of the subjects that have proven to be controversial as it relates to Disney have been branded political, and I don't necessarily believe they are. I don't think when you are telling stories and attempting to be a good citizen of the world that that's political. Just not how I view it. Do I like the company being embroiled in controversy? Of course not. It can be distracting, and it can have a negative impact on the company. And to the extent that I can work to kind of quiet things down, I'm going to do that.
Mr. Vice President, we go to Disney to take our children, to watch them laugh, to, have breakfast with Cinderella or whatever it is. We go to escape. It's just like sports. Do politics belong in Disney? Or do you go to Disney to get lectured or to go have fun?
Well, when Karen and I loaded the kids in the minivan and made the long drive from Indiana down to Disney World, we went for fun.
It's a long drive.
I'm
sure the car ride was not fun.
And we went to get a picture with the mouse.
Of course.
That was a big part of the day.
Did you wear mouse ears while you were there?
I did not. At least there's no photographs of that.
Not that we know.
No, it is about fun. The Disney World likes to call itself the happiest place on earth. Yeah. And, I welcome back Bob Iger. I mean, my hope is that he will steer Disney back to its core business, which is reflecting the common values, the aspiration, and really family-oriented entertainment. I mean, look, we all have different values in this country, and we're entitled to those values and those beliefs. But those things that are most dear to us, let's let families work those issues out. Let's respect families' ability to convey their faith, their values, and let's just go in and be able to enjoy the mouse. I mean, that, to me, that's my aspiration, and my hope is that Disney will learn some hard lessons over the last recent years and get back to their core business, which has for generations been a great source of not only entertainment, but great fun for families in America.
Yeah, Carly, you're about to find out. It's very expensive.
It keeps on getting more.
If we could tell Bob Iger, lower those prices of the tickets.
Yeah, lower the temperature and lower the price.
Yeah. If Carly's having a baby in 2 months. What do you think about Iger being back and his decision?
Well, I just remember earlier this year when Disney announced that they were going to be changing their greeting from ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls to hello dreamers, in an effort to be more inclusive. And it's like, what's wrong with the original? How is that not inclusive? That's the kind of stuff that just makes parents and everybody just roll their eyes. And I just think we've learned that when companies become too political and too woke, they woke themselves out of a lot of money. You remember what happened with ESPN?
Right.
ESPN executives even said that being political hurt their bottom line. So now Disney is learning that lesson as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Martha, stocks are down almost 40%. One of the worst in the Dow for 2022. And Strange World, the movie that just came out at the box office over Thanksgiving, it bombed. So is this about the money? Do you think Bob Iger's being smart?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, I think in this country we tend to start forgetting what the mission is of different institutions, whether it's schools and education. In this case, the reason they brought Bob Iger back and the reason he wants to come back is because he wants to protect the brand that he built. This is a great American brand, and in the end, they are beholden to shareholders. The mission of a company, an American corporation, is to provide value for their shareholders, to be successful, to hire a lot of people, to keep them employed because you have a thriving, successful business. It is not to preach to your customers. It's not to hammer them over the head and tell them the way they're supposed to feel or think about something. And I think you've seen a disintegration of the Disney brand for a very long time, really. I mean, I think, I go back to like Beauty and the Beast and some of those beautiful stories, right? And you look at you can see the progression of what they've been trying to do over time. And I think Bob Iger's there to turn this into a moneymaker again. And that if he keeps his focus on that and he pleases the people who are customers, whether it's at the parks or in the movie theater, he'll be a winner.
Yeah.
But that's what the woke left is really all about. I love how you said that. Institutions, even the military, the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Corporate America. We've seen it literally all across the country. What's heartening to me about this, though, and that's about the impact on their stock or the box office, is that, you know, the antidote to woke America is America.
Right.
Is the American people voting with their pocketbooks, voting with their feet. And they've done that in this case, and it looks to me like they've gotten Disney's attention, all for the good.
Right.
Emily, how about you?
Right. They lost sight of who their actual paying customer was, and they've paid for it dearly, as you're saying, with the box office, losing their tax-exempt status that they enjoyed in Florida for 50 years, right? That's on Chapek's shoulders. Now Iger trying to restore it, but he himself has said that he wants to include in that mission, frankly, a lot of departure from simply getting back to creating magic in the kingdom for families. And I think it's interesting, in typical liberal hypocrisy, that this entire time, as they've been lecturing us and telling parents how to train or how to educate their children, instead they've been expanding into anti-gay countries, thanking the entity responsible for concentration camps in the credits, for example, of Mulan. So the formula is easy for them to get back on track, but we'll see if they follow it. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.